we good? Are we starting? Okay, good. Hello! What an amazing introduction to the IncGamers podcast. I'm Peter Parrish. I'm here with Tim McDonald putting on his cardigan, hoodie, whatever you want to call that. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Paul Younger, hello, already dressed, not having to add any more clothes. That's good.
They should just be lucky they weren't sort of watching this 5 minutes ago and we weren't recording then.
Oh, it was sexual. So yeah, here's some things that have happened in the news this week relating to PC games. Some guy, otherwise known as David Cole, who works for a place called DFC Intelligence, has some things to say about PC revenue and how it is now eclipsing console revenue. Now, that's interesting, and we can all pat ourselves on the back about that. But he is one of these analyst people, and you kind of can't really see his facts and figures without paying him a lot of money. So I'm not entirely sure.
He's not. Is this a gamble so that his next article will actually? What was his name again? Sorry, David.
David Cole.
Is this an article so that his next findings will be David Cole's revenue eclipses that of games?
Well, he's not Michael Pachter, so maybe there is some truth in it.
I'm not saying he's just made it up. I'm just saying that without access to his methodology, which you have to pay a lot of money for, it's difficult to go much beyond what he's saying, which was stuff like, hey, MOBAs make quite a lot of money, which that's probably true. I'm happy to believe that.
How much money is he asking for?
I don't know. Shall I have a look? Shall I try and buy his report?
No, just have a look.
Basically, what he's saying in that is that PC gaming surpassing the revenue because of hat sales.
Yeah,
and so it's all down to hats. We can thank hats.
You know what? More seriously, I'd kind of put some of it down to digital distribution. Just things like Steam, where there is a game on sale like every day. I think that you get a shit ton of impulse buys due to sales. I mean, Steam actually came out and gave their own figures on that. They discovered that they make so much more money from games that are on sale.
Yeah, well, you're the prime candidate for that, Tim.
So I think I found the report in question, and it costs $3,000. So,
what?
Well, that's cheaper than I thought it would be, actually.
It's actually $2,995, so a little bit under $3,000.
Wow.
Oh well, I'm definitely buying in now.
So
I was expecting maybe sort of $500 at the upper limit. Fucking
I think I'll wait till it comes on the Steam sale.
Right,
really...
how do you get a job as an analyst? Because I've seen Michael Pachter, I've seen what he does, and he's wrong all the fucking time. So, I can do his job better than he can.
Is that
have money, please?
Is that analyst or an alrapist?
I'll do either. I'm not fussy.
I mean, I assume that you have to put together these extensive reports, but maybe they don't exist because maybe nobody actually buys them. So all you have to do is just go to the press and say, "Oh, I've written this report that says PC revenues are doing really well." I mean, I can believe it, but also I would say that the new consoles that have come out are selling extremely well in comparative to the last generation. So it's not like they're hard up for cash either.
I'm not quite sure why they're selling so well, considering they've got no games out. But that's besides the point.
They've got the PS4 has Daylight, Tim, and you can tell from my review how good that is.
and that's on PC. It's also got Final Fantasy XIV, which is also on PC. Battlefield, which is also on 360 and PC. Titanfall, which is that's Xbox One, but also 360 and PC.
Yeah, basically you can play Infamous 2 on the PS4 if you like.
Infamous 3, isn't it?
Oh, is it not? Is it Infamous? Oh, yeah, sorry, Infamous Second Son. I got confused. Yes, it is Infamous 3.
It does have second in the title. So
why are we talking about PS4 exclusive games?
Yeah,
I think we're mostly just mocking them. I was just going to say that I played a bit of Infamous, didn't like it, thought it was a bit overrated. It was okay, nothing special. Anyway.
So basically, the PC's doing great because of MOBAs and hats and hat MOBAs. Speaking of MOBAs, Tim, were you going to say something? I was just about to do my amazing segue.
I know exactly what your segue is going to be. I was just wondering, do you think he'd give us a copy of his report if we asked him and said we wanted to analyse it? Or do you think that...
Why would he do that?
Because then we could charge...
The thing? He could either basically go, yes, because all my findings are incredibly accurate, and, you guys can say you've read it and everything's fine. Or the other side of it, which is that it's just a huge attempt to make $3,000 from every single publisher and developer out there so that they know what demographic they're supposed to be targeting. In which case he'd probably tell us to sod off.
Well, we could actually analyse his analysis and then charge for our analysis.
Yes. Let's undercut him by $1,000. Let's sell ours for $2,000. I think that's still a good amount of money. Do you think his report's just an MS Paint graph that's kind of got like PC sales and then console sales? That's it.
It's probably slightly better than that. It might be. He might have gone as far as like an Excel graph, but I don't know.
Do you think it would have gone as far as a pie chart with a smiley face on it?
Well, I don't know. Pie charts. You're looking at $5,000 for the pie charts.
Yeah, I mean that's we're talking 10, 20 minutes work to do a pie chart, and if you're working for 20 minutes, I mean that's going to cut into your 6-hour lunch break. So.
This poor guy's probably been putting this report together for like 2 years, slaving over all these figures and data, and $3,000 is like seriously undercutting the amount of work he's put into it. And we're just taking the piss.
Thanks, Peter. Now I feel quite bad.
You should feel bad. Poor old David Cole. Anyway, speaking of MOBAs, yeah, Dota 2's got a patch, and it's got a cutesy name. It's called the Spring Cleaning Patch. For some reason. Why is that, Tim? What's going on with that? Tell us about Dota 2 for the bot hats.
I don't know why you keep asking me about Dota 2. I mean, I don't,
you're the one who plays it extensively.
I know why you're asking me about Dota 2. I just don't know why you all are asking me about it.
I don't know.
Anything I say, I could just go blurble blurble bleed and it would make about as much sense to you lot.
Alright, well, give us some true things, okay, but throw in something that's fake, and I'll see if I can spot the fake thing that's not actually happening in the patch. Go on, go.
Well, the spring cleaning patch is basically exactly what it sounds like.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
No, that's true. Jumping the gun, Paul. Come on.
It's a patch for spring, which is kind of dedicated to cleaning bits and pieces up. There's a lot of bug fixes, interface fixes, a ridiculous number of hero tweaks. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. All of that was actually true. I can't think of anything I could plausibly turn into a lie.
What about the new hero, the Turd Burglar?
You could easily turn a hero tweak into a lie. Just say that Pudge has had his damage on his special increased or something, and I'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well,
I mean, that might be true, I don't know.
Well, Lich's Aghanim's upgrade for his ultimate, that's now got unlimited bouncers. Lena's Aghanim's upgrade now goes through BKB as well. Magic Immunity.
This all sounds quite true.
Keeper of the Lights getting an Ags upgrade in this one as well.
What about his
Squills are no longer disabled through Hex.
What about his BLT?
No, that's the McDonald's version of Dota. It's called McDota.
McDonald's going to do a MOBA.
No, don't even suggest it, Tim.
A McMOBA.
A McMOBA.
Yeah, you can play as the Hamburglar.
I knew it was going to be the Hamburglar.
It's got to happen, man. It's got to happen.
Yeah, they had a whole set of characters in McDonald's. They could easily do a McMOBA.
I can't remember most of the McDonald's characters. I mean, Ronald McDonald, everybody knows because he's terrifying. He's like Tim Curry from It, only slightly more sinister. So at least Tim Curry wasn't trying to shove fast food down your throat. That'd just be weird.
No, he was just trying to murder children, which is a much more sanitary thing to be doing.
That's exactly what McDonald's is trying to do.
That's true. They're just playing the long game.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember most of the McDonald's characters. I can remember Ronald McDonald, the Hamburglar, Mayor McMuffin. Who else was there?
That sounds like you just made that one up. Mayor McMuffin.
I'm pretty certain I've got that right, but I'm going to have to Google for it.
So is Mayor McMuffin's ultimate going to be buffed, or?
Oh no, I may have made that up actually. Was that the lie?
I think it was.
Lying about McDonald's.
It was so good you didn't even know it was yourself. Damn.
That's the best kind of lie.
So I don't know.
What the hell are we talking about?
This is just wasting precious Dark Souls 2 discussion time, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so
Dota's getting a patch. It changes shit. Go and read the news item, because if I actually try to list the changes, these two will fall asleep.
Yeah, that was a good news item, Tim. It was very in-depth. Well done. I read it. Didn't understand it, but I read it. Blizzard sent around a player survey, Paul, to people going, hey, do you want another expansion? Amongst other things. They asked other things, I guess, but Tim...
Was the response a bunch of twats basically saying, well, you've got to fix the game first, I've only played it for 800 hours and I'm already...
That probably wasn't an option.
Well, so. I think they've learnt a lot from Hearthstone, and that's just don't let people talk. So there wasn't any... so there wasn't any sort of feedback as such that you could put in it. It was just like, yeah, whatever. Interesting enough, we actually ran our own survey on the same day, because not everybody got this, and 87% of our readers said they would like to see another one. So we do have some results in on that.
Was one of the options in the poll basically not until they actually fix the game, so only played it, etc., etc.
Well, the thing is, they kind of have fixed the game, apart from a few bits and pieces. But everybody's going to moan.
Exactly.
You can fix it as much as you want, and it is pretty much fixed. It's just balancing bits and pieces in the Crusader and stuff, but really, the thing is, right, they've said that they were always going to do at least 2 expansions, and that was actually shown on that leaked slide that I put in the news story that was on the thing, which is basically that slide is actually everything on that has come true. So it's kind of weird to kind of go, hey, do you want another expansion, when they kind of already said we're going to do another expansion. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Homeworld thing, when they were asking people if they wanted a collector's edition or not, and then just did a collector's edition anyway. It's just kind of like, I don't know if it's just a sort of a survey they put out to say, hey, we're listening to you, but we're going to do what the hell we want anyway.
Activision Blizzard doing something like that? No.
But I think another expansion would be great, actually. I think the game's right on track, with the ladders coming and the tiered rift stuff coming. I think the game's going to be really good at that point after that, and they can really build on that, so I really do hope they put another one out, which they will.
I mean, I guess if they got 100% of people saying no, we don't want another expansion, they would probably have to pay some attention to that. But they'd still,
everyone would say no, but they'd still go and buy it because it's a Blizzard product. It wouldn't matter. I mean, they could put a turd in a box and say it's Diablo 4, and everyone would buy it.
I think they're very happy with that.
Genuine, I don't know. You'd get some people defending Blizzard's artistic vision, and everyone else would have been moaning no matter what it was. So, frankly, indistinguishable. What do you think they're going to do with Diablo, Paul? Do you think that they're going to try and sort of do World of Warcraft style, keep Diablo 3 and just do loads of expansions? Do you think they're going to do sort of Diablo 4 in a few years, or what?
I remember, I think they actually, there's some discussion this week where I think they have mentioned Diablo 4, that it is on the cards. I would have loved to have seen an MMO set in Sanctuary in the Diablo universe. And then I remember being at the press event actually for the World of Warcraft announcement. I think it was at ECTS all those years ago, and they wouldn't tell me what it was. And I was thinking, oh god, I hope it's like a Diablo MMO. And then it was like bloody Warcraft, and it was just like, oh god, here we go. But obviously the right to business decision was made by them, obviously, because it's Blizzard.
It went quite well, yeah. That went okay from that choice.
I don't think they'll ever take the Diablo universe to an MMO. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know how well it would work, but I'd love to see it. I think it would be fantastic.
What about a MOBA?
Well, we have the MOBA. We got Heroes of the Storm, which has effectively got all the characters from all their universes. Which I'll talk a little bit about later, actually, because there's some amusing things in that.
Oh, I want to play that. I want to hate that. I'm gonna have to hope. I'm gonna have to hope for an alpha invite, aren't I, or a beta invite?
I'll just use my account, Tim. Feel free.
Can't say that, they'll ban you.
Well, they won't ban me. I'm beyond bannable.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm not going to say that because someone might watch this and I'll just find my account banned later and I'll lose all my characters.
Don't worry, nobody's watching this.
We got the analytics to prove it, you're safe, Paul.
Well, the only other news thing I had related to Dark Souls 2, which I might just fold into general Dark Souls 2 PC chat.
I've got some news.
Okay.
Star Citizen, 43 million. Oh, Tim's reaching for his book. That's my news. That's my news.
That's your news. Okay, good.
43 million last night.
Good
Well
news.
done, Chris Roberts.
Hurrah.
More hookers and
Big
cocaine
money.
for you.
Maybe you can learn how to fly a ship properly now. He was under a lot of pressure. It was a big event. Fair play to him. He dealt with it very well. Yeah, let's talk about Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Seek last.
Para Seek Last, as it's commonly known. It came out on PC. There's a cat appeared on Paul's monitor there. It's the cat from Dark Souls 2.
No, it's not. That was a long hair.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about the PC port for a little bit, just because it's a lot better than their first effort at a PC version. Not completely perfect. Some people had some bizarre launch crashing issues, which I believe have been patched out now. They've certainly released a patch to deal with that, and people weren't too impressed with the mouse and keyboard controls, but I would possibly suggest that's a bit like not being impressed with controller support on a PC first-person shooter. It's I see their point, but it's kind of going to be worse whatever you do to it.
I know there are people out there who claim that there are ways of making Dark Souls playable with mouse and keyboard, and a few people have gone so far as to say it's better if you set it up right. I refuse to believe this, though. It just
fair play
works.
to them if they want to play it that way, and you know, the best possible support is what they would be hoping for, certainly, and that's fine.
Hey, if they've got redefinable keys, then quite frankly, you've got enough to set up your own control scheme. Beyond that, the controls are pretty much up to you, really.
I've heard that the mouse has a little bit of input lag or something, which isn't great if that's true. But
No.
Anyway, play it on a controller, people. It's 2014. You probably have some sort of controller knocking around. I hope.
Did someone not criticise you in the review for using a controller?
Someone did for using a controller. And it's well, I'm not going to use anything other than mouse and keyboard to play an FPS. I'm not going to use anything other than a controller to play Dark Souls. That's how it is. I tried the keyboard and mouse. Wasn't very good, as I expected.
Yeah.
But it was in there. Anyway, otherwise, pretty good. Got the locked at 60 frames per second. You've got support for most resolutions, although it is, I think, restricted to 16:9 aspect ratio unless you use a bit of an external thing. But most importantly, the online co-op and stuff is now very robust. I haven't really suffered any kind of summoning problems whatsoever, which can't really be understated how important that is for this game, honestly. Much as it has a few things that I don't quite love as much as the first Dark Souls, the online I cannot fault whatsoever, and it helps immensely in this game.
I am largely in full agreement with you. The port is fantastic. It runs really smoothly. It looks lovely.
Yep.
The online play actually works, possibly by dint of not using games for Windows Live.
I think that's probably the main reason, yes.
Does it use Steamworks?
I actually don't know, and I'm not sure, but whatever it's using, though, it is pretty good, because, like I say, the only time I've had, summoning failed is if I've tried to grab someone's sign and someone's got there before me, basically.
Yep.
It basically tells you that, so that's fine.
I've had it a few times say, the sign has disappeared, but that's just okay, they've wandered off, so fair enough.
Yeah, it's a slightly different game to Dark Souls, much as Dark Souls has different themes.
It's got the 2 in the name. It's sort of like the first one, but a bit different.
Yeah, but I know. But it's changed a few things around. You've got like bonfire warping from the very beginning, which of course you had to kind of earn through blood and tears in the first Dark Souls. It's more. It seems more. I'm going to say accessible, which is going to be like kryptonite to some Dark Souls people. But I think it's gone about it in quite a good way. It's accessible in the sense of like the user interface is less terrible, and you know. NPCs, you could always glean enough information from talking to NPCs in Dark Souls, but they're a little more forthright in this about going, hey, have you seen those those messages on the ground? They might help you out and stuff. You can leave them yourself as well. Why don't you try that kind of thing?
In fairness, there's really only one guy who does that.
Yeah, well, he's Crestfallen Warrior Mark 2.0 yes. With the same voice and everything. Have you found this easier, Tim? Because I have, but I think it's probably because I've played Dark Souls a lot, and so I kind of know what the deal is with the combat and everything.
I would say yes. I mean, I've got the same caveat as you because I played Dark Souls, I played Demon Souls.
Yeah,
I'm an old hand at this. I would say that it gets more difficult later on, though. The start isn't easy, but it does ease you in before it gets really brutal.
Yeah,
I would say it's possibly a little bit easier. But then it's really hard to say. I mean, when I went through Dark Souls, I went through that without summoning anybody. I went through that purely solo because the netcode was shit, so I couldn't summon anybody.
Yes.
Whereas with Dark Souls 2, the netcode actually works, so I have been engaging in jolly cooperation.
Which does make things a lot easier, certainly.
Yes.
Yep.
So I don't know, that might have something to do with it as well. I mean, there are bits that I've had serious difficulty with, although I haven't hit anything quite as irritatingly bastard hard as Anor Londo.
Yeah.
Although that said, you can actually make the game more difficult for yourself anyway. There's a covenant that makes things difficult, and there's the bonfire ascetics.
Yep, that's right. I mean, I guess that kind of speaks to their approach with this one, is that there's a lot more sort of, well, if you want to do it this way, do this. If there's sort of more breadth of options, I suppose, available to you in this, I feel like. I mean, what do you think about the whole warping anywhere from bonfires?
I actually thought I was going to hate that, because I actually found that Dark Souls got a bit more boring once I unlocked that ability there, because it was very much, okay, I've just got to go to this area, do this, now I'll walk to this area and do this.
Yeah.
But with this, it kind of works. I don't know why. I don't know if that's maybe just me, but there is such a huge expanse of stuff you can do at any given time. I mean, I don't think it's at all spoilery to say that at the start, the very rough task you're given is to go and find 4 things and kill them.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are all sorts of directions you can go out in from there. There are, areas lead on to 2 or 3 other areas, which lead on to another area, which leads on to 2 more areas. So there's plenty of little branching points you can take. And in that sense, it does kind of work quite well.
It definitely seems more designed for you to sort of hop around from like, I'm kind of struggling on this branch now, I'll kind of bounce. I mean, I will say I do miss from the first Dark Souls being kind of stranded in the depths or in Blighttown or something and thinking, man, if I want to get out of this place, I'm going to have to like struggle all the way back to the other bonfire and stuff like that, or I'm going to have to keep going, which is a little bit lost in this, because you can just go, I don't like it here, I'm going to warp out somewhere else.
True. But I mean, this is kind of going back to Demon Souls, because that kind of worked the same. You had a hub area with 5 portals connected to it, and each of those led you to a different world.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of goes back a bit to that, and there's also the whole thing, like, you can't level up at any bonfire now. You have to go and talk to Bearer Seek Lest.
You do have to talk to Bearer Seek Lest.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't quite know why they did that, whether it was just a case of trying to give that character something to do. I haven't played enough of the game, so I don't know how important she is.
I think they wanted to keep you going back to Majula, because some NPCs sort of show up there after a while and can sell you stuff. And they wanted this kind of centralized location that you can chill out at and feel quite happy at, I think.
That was true of the Firelink Shrine as well, though. And frankly, they didn't do a very good job of making this location where I feel safe because of those fucking undead piglets.
Yes. There are deadly piglets that will mess your shit
Why
up.
are they so hard to kill?
Because, I don't know, they're
There
really...
are giant soldiers made of metal with shields bigger than my house that die faster than them. They're tiny little piglets.
Yeah, but I don't know. They're super tough piglets. So the other change is that now, if you kill enemies enough times, they will despawn, so that even if you rest at the bonfire, they won't come back. Which, again, I wasn't sure about before release, but I'm not too bothered about. I haven't really seen it happen very much, and where it has, it's kind of like I'm at the point now where I'm practically just running for the boss anyway, which is what I would do in Dark Souls after I'd screwed it up like 10 or 12 times. It's like, right, screw this, I'm not going to fight all of you guys, I'm just going to run past you. And again, as you mentioned, there is an item that can bring the enemies back, albeit tougher if you really want.
Yes, the bonfire aesthetic. You can burn it in a bonfire, and the surrounding area basically is reset and leveled up to as if you were on your next playthrough. So if you're on your first playthrough and you use one of those, the area then suddenly becomes as though you were on New Game Plus, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you really want to farm things, you can do it using that, but you're definitely going to make things trickier for yourself.
Yeah, that is a way of getting some unique New Game Plus items early, if you know sort of where to look and things like that, which is quite cool. It's difficult for me to assess because there's a lot about this game that I like that's definitely improved on the first one, but it's that situation where Dark Souls was the first one I played, so I have a little bit more affection and affinity to that because that's the first time I encountered that style of game, which was so unique and powerful that I'm doing it the second time. It's a little bit less powerful just because of that. But that's not necessarily to the detriment of the sequel. That's just down to my experience, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know which game I prefer. I mean, I said to you early on when I started playing that I was liking Dark Souls 2 more.
Yeah.
And a large part of that was just that it felt so much faster, so much more fluid.
Well, yeah, I mean, it works properly.
I don't know. It doesn't quite have the same sense of place as the first game, I think.
Yeah.
The areas feel they feel a bit more generic, I guess. But I don't know. That might just be because I'm trying to draw comparisons back to more areas from Dark Souls and Demon Souls again.
I mean, I don't think there's anything like when you open up all the shortcuts in the Undead Burg in Dark Souls 1, or when you find the elevator from the blacksmith that takes you back to Firelink Shrine, there are still sort of shortcuts in the levels in the sequel, but there's nothing quite as amazing as unlocking those.
Yeah, everything's more discrete rather than interlinked.
Yeah, and I like the individual areas. They're pretty well designed, and the enemies are fine and everything like that. It's sounding like I'm a bit down on this game, which is wrong because I actually do love it.
It's absolutely.
I kind of feel like in a few years' time it's going to be people who, on PC especially, are going to be directed towards Dark Souls 2 simply because it works properly out of the box. But I think people will also go, but you should try and play the first one. It takes a bit more effort to get it up and running, but you should definitely play the first one too because of this, and it does the world a little bit better maybe. But yeah, there's plenty in Dark Souls 2 that is astonishingly put together and maintains the integrity and quality of the series in the way that you would expect. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. It's different to the first game, like you said, and I facetiously corrected you.
You see him mocking me.
It is different to the first game. I'm having a really hard time deciding which one I like better.
Which is a good sign, and that's kind of what I ended my review with, that I think people will have a difficult time deciding which one is best, and that's, people will argue either way, and rightly so.
Yeah, which is absolutely fine. Oh, I've got a bone to pick with you, Peter. Last night you told me that what I really wanted to do was to go into an area called the Gutter, and that shortly after this I would go to an area called Black Gulch, and that it was really bright and shiny and happy and friendly, and I would love it there. You lied to me, Peter. You lied.
I didn't say it was lovely, but in fairness, your alternative is to go to the area that's full of giant spiders, so on balance, I feel like you would prefer the Gutter.
I did actually go there. I walked there. I saw the little the area location thing pop up, and it said Brightstone Cove, Seldora, and I went nope. Turned around and walked back out again.
You don't. The spiders aren't there immediately. You'll know the area with the spiders because they're behind a door that's got a big picture of a spider on it. It's a bit of a giveaway, really.
Okay. I'm still not sure I'm going to go there. I might do. I'm not sure. I might challenge myself.
It's fun. I was helping out someone with the boss there last night, and it was a real classic Dark Souls moment because this guy kept summoning me and some of the random phantom, and each time he kept doing a little bit better and a little bit better, and like there was a point where he died just as the boss died, and I felt really bad for him. But then he came back and he summoned me again with this other guy, and we beat the boss. And then he ran around, jumping, like doing gestures and dropping the little stone that says "Thank you, thank you," and I felt very good. And I hope he felt good as well, because I know how kind of rewarding that kind of moment can be. And I was really pleased that this guy finally managed to do it after failing like 2 or 3 other times.
I've had my own moments like that. I mean, I've had good moments and bad moments. The worst was, I think, the Iron King, whatever the hell he's called.
Yeah, I know.
He's got an attack where he shoots a laser, and
Yes.
I didn't know about this. So I'd summoned 2 phantoms, and I was just running around trying to work out how the hell to hit it, because they were standing there pelting at range, and I was just sat there going, I've got a sword, what do I do? Trying to dodge attacks, and then he shoots a laser at me and instantly kills me when he's on about a quarter of his health, and I thought, oh, I've really fucked this up for those 2 guys, haven't I? They're going to be quite annoyed with me.
Well, if you survived long enough to get him down to like a quarter of his health, they shouldn't feel that bad. It's worst when you like die instantly and then you go, oh, whoops.
The second time went a lot better because I didn't lock onto him, and I went, oh, there's a wall I can hide behind there, and all sorts of other little bits and pieces.
The worst part
my habit of locking onto a boss as soon as I walk into an arena kind of backfired on me there.
The most dangerous part of that boss fight is the very small pool of lava that exists at the back of the main walkway that you're fighting him on. Because if that wasn't there, that would be fine. You could just pretty much ignore your surroundings, but you have to be aware of the fact that if you step backwards, you'll fall into this tiny puddle and die.
There were 2 occasions on the run where I actually succeeded, where I thought I'd rolled into the lava, but I was like 2 pixels away from it. I was like, oh, yes. I'm okay.
The deadliest.
I saw a brilliant stupid death by Bloodstain last night.
Okay.
I did a mid-game area with the name Castle, where one of the pre-release, well, the famous boss is the Mirror Knight.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And after beating him, there's kind of a lift that takes you down.
Yes.
And there's sort of a parapet that goes along there. And there was a bloodstain right at the end of the parapet. And I thought, what's this? So I used it. And the bloodstain was a guy standing there looking out of the parapet. And then he just turns around and dives off the lift. He just like does a roll forward onto the bit where the lift is supposed to be. Presumably he triggered it before. And yeah.
The greatest ones, I think, are the ones where people have opened the mimic chests, because all you see are them, like, head-banging as their head gets savaged by this thing that you can't see.
Mimics in Dark Souls, I had no idea there were mimics in there until the first time I encountered one, and I shat myself. In this, I basically, if there is a chest and there is a blood stain directly in front of the chest, I'm going to hit that chest first.
Yep.
Though the mimics seem a bit easier in this one, actually. Like, I can kill them before they even finish their getting up animation, but...
Yeah, this is a little bit simpler, maybe.
They are
Anyway.
still horrifying and terrifying if you accidentally open one, though.
We have been covering Dark Souls 2 quite a lot on the site. There is a review, there is a sort of helpful beginner's guide that points you to a few early items and then sort of which direction you might want to go in at first and stuff like that. And also there is a jolly cooperation guide if you're a little bit concerned about jumping into co-op. That should hopefully reassure you that you should not be, and that everyone wants to co-op, and how to do it, how to find the soapstones and stuff like that, which you can miss if you make a mistake.
Not half as bad as missing them was in the first game, though. I mean, the one you used to write messages, I never get that until much, much later than I should have done, because I keep forgetting about where it is.
Yes, that's true. You can write messages from the start now, which is handy.
Yeah, you could do that in Demon Souls as well, from what I can remember. I was always confused why they changed that for Dark Souls, why you had to find a specific item. Yeah, I'm glad they changed that.
It's good. Good. So that's Dark Souls 2. Very positive impressions of that. Paul, do you want to tell us about Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, because I'm such a MOBA professional, and I know the genre inside out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've just been tinkering a bit with this. Leveling up basically, because as you level up, it unlocks more stuff in the early game. So you can try stuff out, and you can mess about with the heroes right now. I think over the weekend they had a sort of all the heroes were unlocked, and you could basically choose between, I don't know, I think it's 15 or so of them, which was quite good. Basically, win games, get XP, get gold, buy stuff with gold, and so on. But the thing with Heroes of the Storm is it's typical Blizzard. It's like taking something that's really popular and then polishing the hell out of it to make it really good, which is hard when you have things like Dota 2 and League of Legends, which are massively popular. But I think the thing with Heroes of Storm, certainly for me, for someone who's played a little bit of Dota 2 and a little bit of League of Legends, not a lot, what immediately appeals to me is obviously the characters, and because I'm familiar with them, I've been messing around with them for 20 years, some of these, so you've got Diablo and some of the WoW characters as well, which I'm not so familiar with now because I stopped playing it, but it's kind of weird. When I started playing, I obviously picked Diablo because he was available, and I just thought I'll see what he can do, sort of melee character, and he sort of rides out on a little pony, which was like really bizarre. It was like his legs were like, because you've got mounts, so his legs were like practically touching the ground, kind of like like that, and the pony's like that, and he's like that. It just looked really weird. And also playing characters like Stitches from WoW, which is another melee-based character. He's on a pony, and it was just,
do they all just have ponies? Is that what
it was just so strange.
Is this just a knock at when everyone was saying that Diablo 3 was all brightly coloured and happy? Is Diablo riding like a pink unicorn or something?
Well, it is. The thing is, it's kind of... It takes that Warcraft 3 sort of cartoony type feel, and then brings in characters like Nova and so on into this world, this nexus. So you kind of seeing your characters in locations that you probably wouldn't expect to see them. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of Warcraft 3. I didn't really like the hero element of the gameplay, and that's what most people did like about it. But it's one of the things I didn't really like about it. But it's kind of taking that hero class idea, which is obviously done with Dota, and then having it as a single, unit. There's a couple of different game modes. I mean, it's kind of weird. I didn't really understand one of them because I only came across it once, where it was like you had like a surface level, and you had to obviously, typical MOBA, take down the sentinel or whatever it is. But there's like a bit where you go into a subterranean cavern, and the levels then split in two. So you got to take these undead out in the lower levels, which then unleashes something else to help you take. So there's more than one way to do things, and the one that I probably found most enjoyable actually was the one where you had to collect the coins then deliver them to the pirate, Blackbeard or whatever it is, that his ship launches a barrage of cannons at the enemy base. So you're running around taking out sort of NPCs, and then the other team's trying to do the same, but they can also just try and take your base straight, or you can collect these coins and get the help of the sort of Blackbeard character. I don't know what his name is, but it's something like that in a way. And then the ship just fires loads of stuff at your base and annihilates it. So there's multiple ways to do things, and I think that's what makes it more interesting than just running up and down, 3 different lanes. They've kind of thought about different ways that you can win the scenario, and I quite like that. Like I say, I've probably only played about 2 hours of it so far, but you can go to the store, you can have a look at the heroes that you could buy with the gold that you make, or with real money, I'm assuming, later on, or I think you might be able to do it now, and then you can try them out. You can try them out locally in a sort of AI game to see if you like that character before you purchase it and so on. So they've kind of thought of everything. It's really heavily on leveling up. When you level up, there's like a massive disc appears and it's going, level 3 and all these little digits. It's typical Blizzard. They want you to feel that you're achieving something every time you play the game, and it actually works really, really well. So even though this is alpha, I'm quite impressed with it, considering I'm not a huge MOBA fan.
So the leveling up thing is kind of a big
MOBA fan, Paul. You're just not an MOBA fan.
No, I like the idea of it. I just kind of, I don't know, I just never had the time to invest in it, but I did actually find myself wanting to play another game with this, which I didn't really feel that with Dota 2 for me. But
I've got something I can add on to that, but Peter, you were saying something. We'll go with you first.
I was saying something. So the leveling thing obviously distinguishes it a lot from Dota, because in Dota you pick the heroes and level them up throughout the match, but then they all reset back to their.
Oh, you level up in the game as well to unlock, just typical MOBA. To unlock the skills, so you are doing that as well.
Oh, so you don't in fact retain those.
Well, no, you'd be basically, when you start a game, it's like other. I think Dota's like that.
So you all
isn't
start
it,
at level 0 each time.
Yeah, and then you just unlocks the
skills. I'm
skills.
sorry, I misunderstood.
But there is an overall level of your level, if you see what I mean, that happens outside.
Level.
But is that just your competence at the game type?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, pretty much. So you're going to get matched up with people that are going to be similar level to you. I haven't actually done a game with another person yet, but you have to do, when you first start playing, you have to do it against the AI first. Then you have to play a co-op against the AI, and then you can go into versus. So I think it's like level 6 or something like that. So you have to do quite a bit before you can actually do it. Then there's daily quests as well, which I think unlock at level 6, which I've just got to that a bit now, so I can't really talk about that. But
what I'm getting at is you're not bringing in your Diablo who's at level 8.
No.
Yeah.
No. Diablo's Diablo, and he starts, and then you level him up, and so on.
So does the profile level actually have an impact on the game? Because I know things like League of Legends, you do have sort of little buffs and things like that, which your profile unlocks. And you
I can't tell you that, Tim, because I haven't played it enough.
Okay.
So I mean, full disclosure, I haven't played it enough. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. I actually, although I kind of hate the Warcraft 3 type graphics in a way. They kind of annoy me a little bit. I kind of get what they're doing with it, and it would make seems logical sense to use that universe as the basis for the game. But yeah, so far I'm quite enjoying it, and I will carry on playing it because I am going to become a pro. And you'll see me on the international Heroes of the Storm scene, and
getting in there early while it's in alpha. That's the way to do it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm training now. I'm in big time training.
Probably want to play matches against some real people to get more.
Yeah, probably.
One of the things that I've heard about it is that it's a lot simpler than Dota or League of Legends or anything like. There's from what I can remember, all the experience and gold earned is shared between your entire team, and there's no sort of store in terms of buying items, and you can only carry 6 of them at a time, stuff like that. It's, from what I'm told, it's a lot simpler. I think
it's you know what it is. It's good old Blizzard. You know, you take the best bits.
Streamline.
You take the best bits, take the bits out that you don't think are going to be that accessible to everybody. It's about making, Blizzard games accessible and easy to pick up and easy to play. And hell, I picked up and can play it, whereas with Dota I was kind of scratching my head for about half an hour of the first game. But with this,
I've seen you play Dota.
huh?
I've seen you play Dota.
Yeah, I know it's not pretty, is it? You've also seen me play Mario, and that wasn't pretty.
Do Roche. Mid. Go mid. Help mid.
Oh, don't let Paul go mid. That would be a disaster.
I'll carry on playing, and I'll play with other people, and then I'll have a better feel for it. Playing against the AI is just a bit.
I'm gonna have to give it a go at some point in time. I fear I'm going to have to try and steel myself a
But I do
key for this.
I do genuinely think that League of Legends and Dota 2 should be slightly concerned by this. I mean, it is going to do pretty well, I think.
Well,
I don't think Dota 2 needs to be concerned by anything, does it, really?
It's Blizzard. I think that they've all got their own little niche, honestly. Dota is kind of the hyper-complex, deeply competitive one. League of Legends is kind of the fun one, which is a little bit simpler. And Heroes of the Storm, I think, is possibly going even further than that and basically being the accessible one with familiar characters that everyone can just hop into.
Do you know what? I think I don't underestimate the power of the Blizzard characters. I think that is really what's going to attract people to it. People get it, and the skills that they've given each of the individual characters that are skills that you have either seen in game when you've been playing it before. So a lot of the little things are familiar, and I think that's the thing. It's the familiarity of the characters and the skills and so on.
Yeah, that'll help, certainly.
Indeed. Tim, you've been playing a game too. Probably more than one game, but
I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls. Really good. Let's talk about Dark Souls again.
Well, I'd love to, but instead I'm going to ask you about Child of Light. And if I can ask you in time, it's a game that's written in rhyme.
I knew exactly where you were going with that.
That was quite weak, sorry, but I had to come up with that on the fly. I really had to try. No, let's not go this. Let's not go this route.
We did actually have a discussion when I started playing this about whether I could do the entire review in rhyme, and Peter said I was only allowed to do it if we credited the review to Dr. Zeus. Which I wasn't happy about because, quite frankly, I cannot.
You need that byline.
I can't lay claim to being nearly so good as Dr. Zeus.
Well,
it just feels wrong.
Tricky. Yeah. It's a Child of Light. It's Ubisoft's JRPG-ish, watercolor-styled, rhyming fairy tale extravaganza. How is it?
Summed it up perfectly. I don't know. I'm having such a hard time deciding what I think of this game. I feel like I should love it, and I know people will love it, but for whatever reason, it just isn't quite clicking with me. I mean, I've finished it at this point. I've gone through the whole thing, and I mostly enjoyed it. It is probably... I'd be surprised if there is a more beautiful game this year. In motion, in particular. Oh, it's not just the way it looks, it's the lighting effects. I mean, it's kind of got this watercolor painterly style, but they've done all of this with lighting as well. Because one of the things is that the first companion you meet is a little firefly called Igniculus. And the whole point of him, theoretically, he's there for a second player to control using the mouse. Or more than likely, you will control him using the mouse while also using WASD, because if you've ever played a first-person shooter before, you're able to do this. Okay. But because he's a firefly and he emits light, he does sort of light up everything around him when you move him around, and when you hold down the left mouse button, he shines even more brightly. And just the way that this affects the graphics is amazing, particularly with sort of the hand-drawn art style. I don't think I've ever really seen anything quite like it before, and it is stunning. I mean, it is a really good-looking game. I absolutely cannot fault it aesthetically. Yeah, it's utterly gorgeous. I quite like the twists they've done on the combat as well. The combat kind of works. The closest JRPG comparison would probably be Final Fantasy X, which I don't expect to mean anything to either of you.
Afraid not. No, I know who Cloud is. Does that help?
No, that was 3 games prior.
I know who Lightning is now.
No, that was 3 games after, 2 games after.
Yeah. 10 is like this real dark Final Fantasy void for me.
Yeah, it's like you've got 7, that's fine, and 6, okay, 8, okay, and 5, and then you get to 10, it's just no. And 11, 12, 13, there we go.
That'll mean something to some people listening though, so that's fine.
It's you've got 2 party members in battle at any given time. You can swap them out to let one of your other party members take a turn whenever you want to. Well, sorry, at any point where they can take an action. And you kind of proceed in the usual active time battle thing. There's a bar at the bottom which has 2 sections, wait and cast.
Okay.
When the little icon denoting your person, they just sort of travel along the bar. When it gets to the cast, then you choose an action for them. And then when it reaches the end of the cast bar, they do that. So it might be attacking, casting a spell, defending, whatever. What's interesting about that is that if someone is hit while they're in the middle of the cast bar, they're interrupted and are immediately knocked back to the start of the wait bar again. So you can kind of interrupt people, you have to try and time your attacks. If there's 2 enemies about to attack and you've just reached the cast bar, you probably want to defend because you're almost certainly just going to get interrupted if you do anything else. And adding on to this is the fact that you can use your little Firefly buddy to... you can use his light to slow down the enemies. You sort of mouse him over them and hold down the left mouse button, and he slows their progression along the bar. So there is an element of timing involved. Trying to think, okay, I really don't want this guy to have an attack, so I'm going to let him catch up on the bar a bit, and then I'll slow him down just as he reaches the cast point so I can interrupt him. Making it slightly more confusing is that a lot of enemies have their own magical special counter abilities whenever you interrupt them, like one who immediately heals himself and the rest of the enemies, so you really don't want to interrupt him. And so on and so forth. And it's really difficult to describe in words, but it's a lovely little system that flows, and it's something quite unique in JRPGs. I don't think I've ever seen anything that has you manipulate the timing of everyone's turns quite so heavily. And yeah, this is the thing. It's got all of these
all
great
of this has been pretty positive. So
Yeah.
it looks really good, and the combat's really good. So
It's got all these wonderful elements, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't click with me, and I don't know why, and that's why I'm having a hell of a time trying to review the bloody thing. I mean, the story is nothing spectacular. It's fairy tale stuff. The characters are fairly paper thin for the most part. But again, you can kind of forgive that because it's a fairy tale. And that's basically what it is. You know, you're not expecting huge amounts of character depth and growth. Each character will have maybe 1 or 2 little plot points of growth, and that's about it. I don't know. The pacing isn't wonderful. The combat is really easy unless you're fighting a boss, in which case you do actually have to think and prepare and so on. Although, again, it's hard to complain about that because there are 2 difficulty levels, so you can ramp up the difficulty, and most of the combat is avoidable anyway if you really want to. Again, you can use Igniculus. You can see all of the enemies on the map, and you can use him to sort of stun them so that you can just walk past them or fly past them. The exploration is really nice. You sort of very quickly get the ability to fly, and then you're just sort of swooping around these wonderful, beautiful watercolour lands, looking for hidden treasure chests and enemies to fight and so on. And I don't know why I don't love it. I feel like I should.
Some of these mechanics seem like they're in place for something you said at the start about one person controlling Iniculus with the mouse. It kind of seems like maybe you should be playing this with a younger child. Kind of, hey, you do the mouse stuff, and if combat gets difficult, we can avoid it, and we can just enjoy the fairy tale exploration visual stuff.
Possibly. I mean, I know that it has sort of, because it's on the console toys as well, it has controller support, so one of those will presumably control Igniculus there, and otherwise I would guess it would be the right stick or something like that. It does feel kind of like, I mean, this uses the UbiArt framework engine thing, the same as Rayman did. And that did a very similar thing with the multiplayer as well, where it wasn't essential, but you could kind of have someone else helping out. I don't know. And I'm
not trying to say, it's easy, therefore it's for children, because that's insulting to children who are very capable of playing shit like Minecraft when they put their minds to it. I just wondered if that was a kind of additional option they kind of slipped in there.
It might be. I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't say it's a game for children, though. No. Despite the fairy tale stuff, because much as the plot isn't anything particularly special, it is slightly... It does tread into slightly dark territory at points.
As all good fairy tales should.
Yeah, if you think something, I don't know, something along the lines of a PG-rated sort of fantasy film that's ostensibly for children, something like, I don't know, Dark Crystal.
Oh, man. No, the Dark Crystal's horrible with those vulture things.
That might, the Skeksis, that might be pushing it a bit more.
Those things are horrible.
You see why I'm having the difficulty talking about this, though, and trying to say anything definitive, because everything concrete I can say about it, I really like.
Look, Tim, just do what everyone does. Just give it a 7.
7 out of 10.
It's pretty good. There's some bits that you'll like, definitely. Have a 7.
What I'll say is this. If it sounds appealing to you, then it is probably worth a shot at the price range. Because it's a fairly cheap game, it's a fairly long game as well. You're probably talking somewhere between 12 to 15 hours at a guess. I mean, which is pretty good for the price.
At worst, I think you're saying that people will go, for some reason I didn't quite enjoy that as much as I think I should have done, but they'll still have enjoyed it quite a lot. So
yeah, possibly. It's the sort of game, I wouldn't say that I particularly liked it, but I respect it. That makes sense. As I said, I have no doubt that this is going to be Game of the Year for some people. But for me, I don't know. I would like to see them do something more with this. I like the
like 2.
Yeah.
I like Trick Boot.
Well, there are actually loads of hints in the game to sort of stuff that could be a sequel or forthcoming DLC, bits and pieces like that, which I do quite like. I would like to see more from this. As a first game, it might just be that this is the Ubisoft curse again, where the first game in any given franchise is kind of a nice idea but a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
And then the second game is exactly what the first one should have been. So it might just be that all over again.
You're saying Watch Dogs 2 is the one that probably we should look out for.
Oh, I'm so hoping that's not the case. I'm really looking forward to playing that. But yeah, if Child of Light sounds appealing in any way, shape or form, even if you don't normally like JRPGs, then it's worth a shot. If anything, I'd say you'll probably enjoy it more if you don't usually play JRPGs, because you won't expect quite so much out of the systems they've got in there, which, clever as they are hamstrung a little bit by the fact that the game isn't a 50-hour epic, so it kind of throws level-ups at you continually. Which sort of doesn't work, because it just feels like you're getting little incremental stat buffs constantly, and so on and so forth. I will try to write some sort of review about this, which may or may not be up about the time of this podcast. If I can actually get my thoughts into some concrete, non-meandering way.
Yes. Good.
Can I stop talking now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Sometimes talking about a game on the podcast will help you organise your thoughts for the review, but I feel in this case it perhaps hasn't helped you that much. Oh well, never mind. Well, yeah, speaking of what's on the site, obviously lots of Dark Souls 2 stuff, which we have mentioned. There is a review of Daylight, which
You
There's a
really
new
like
sort
that?
No, I didn't. I've been looking around at other reviews today. Other people have not particularly liked it either. It's with similar complaints to me.
But
Yeah,
a lot of the reviews I saw from sort of the usual YouTube pundits are going on about how it's the scariest game ever and it's brilliant and it's wonderful.
yeah. Well, they're wrong and stupid. So there we go.
Yes.
You know, it has some scariness to it. It certainly startled me on a few occasions, but as I mentioned in the review, being startled isn't the same as being scared. You know, like I said in the review that my toaster popping up can startle me sometimes, but I'm not afraid of it. I don't go to bed at night thinking, oh, electrical
Dark Souls 2 startles me on a regular basis, but I'm not scared unless I'm in Brightstone Cove, Teldora.
Absolutely. Yes, anyway, that review is up. I wasn't massively impressed, but I realised after writing the review I hadn't really mentioned the fact that it's like the first Unreal Engine 4 game, but that kind of doesn't have much of an impact on it, really. I mean, it's mostly quite dark and murky, and when it's not dark and murky, it's bright green because you've lit a glow stick to look at stuff. So
I wasn't impressed by the Ghost Lady's face. I thought that looked a bit rubbish.
it's not great. I mean, like a lot of horror monsters in still, it's not particularly terrifying. But man,
I just mean from the first Unreal Engine 4 game, I was expecting something a bit more graphically impressive than that.
Well, I mean, I doubt they're utilising every aspect of Unreal Engine 4, you know.
Yeah, it's also probably worth noting that you're generally not supposed to be looking at her or getting up that close to her, I guess.
No, although you do quite a lot because she pops up quite frequently. So, anyway. Yeah. What else do we have up? Some things.
No, I think Dark Souls 2 and Daylight was about all. Paul, are you still doing your thing about the glasses?
Yeah, I'm still trying to. I snowed on. There were so many different things this week.
We've had a giveaway for the first Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing. I don't know if that's
that'll be
going at this point, or
that'll probably be wrapping up. Actually, might have wrapped up by the time this is done. Not sure.
You can't win that. Sorry.
So yeah, if you've missed it, you've missed it. Tough.
If you have a time machine and you're listening to this, go back in time and enter
and enter.
You might win.
But you'd know if you'd been reading the site, you'd have got in early and brilliant.
Yep.
Actually, no, you probably shouldn't do that because I think that would create a paradox and break the laws of causality, and that's bad things.
Coming up, there will be a Child of Light review eventually.
I'm going to try and get that done so that it's up for tomorrow, so when you're listening to this.
I am looking at Endless Legend, which is the next game by the people who did Endless Space, the rather good 4X space game. This is more of a sort of fantasy-ish, sort of fantasy and sci-fi themed planet-based 4X game, which I'm looking at in early access, so I will preview that. What else are we working on? Anything?
Whatever happens, man.
I think there was a Van Helsing 2 interview.
Oh yeah, that Van Helsing 2 interview that we there's one couple bits and pieces to add into it, but it's almost ready to go. Might be up by the end of this week actually, so do watch out for that.
Got that as well. I'll probably write more about Dark Souls 2 just to give myself an excuse to play it some more, so I can write about it.
Maybe I'll write about Dark Souls 2 just so that I can give myself an excuse to play it as well.
You're such a fan. You two are such fanboys.
It's a really good game, Paul.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's one of the, I would say it's the best series to emerge in recent years. How old's Demon Souls now? About 5 years old? Yeah.
Something like that?
2000. Yeah. Yeah, it is spectacular. Anyway, all of that stuff coming up. More masturbating over Dark Souls 2 as well, probably. Nice image to leave you with. We'll be back again next week. Goodbye.
See you.
Bye.